All right, let's talk about Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons, where I wanted to make this video not just because he's playing awesome, which he is, and we'll get into all that, but I want to talk about all the many ways they use Bijan and use the threat of Bijan to add value. Because again, that's a big part of it, right? Is for, Atlanta, for a team that's going to spend that high draft capital on a running back, the actual value of a running back itself very unlikely to be worth that of a number 8 overall pick, just in terms of like them rushing itself. But there's other things it sets up that can potentially make that actually worth it. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But first, we have to talk about what value is he bringing just through running the football itself, because if you're not being able to run effectively, then teams aren't going to respect you, and you're not going to get that added value. So on this play, it's going to be a tight end who's blocking a defensive lineman here. So bit of a mismatch, and it's going to go okay for Atlanta. Like, watch, as, kind of an immediate little bit of a pressure, but, Bijan's able to get around it relatively easily. It's not a disaster or anything, but this did slow him down a little bit. And now you have a defensive back who's in position to potentially tackle Bijan. This is where the value of a running back comes in, right? What's the expected yardage totals you would think on this play? If you had a fine, not terrible, but not, a guy you're buying a jersey of type of running back in this play, you're probably getting a yard or two, right? That's what you're expecting. But watch this move Bijan pulls to be able to pick up the first down, does it again, and picks up, what was that, 15 yards or so on that play? A little bit more, actually, closer to 17, 18 yards on that play from something that could have only gotten them 1 or 2 yards. Again, even if you only do these a few times a game, the hope is that the threat of you doing that and the fact that defenders don't want you to let you do that again can result in you getting guys wide open through the passing game, similar to what we've seen Arthur Smith do with Derrick Henry. He's trying to do now with Bijan. Like, something like this is a perfect example of exactly how Arthur Smith wants to run this offense, where it's a zone coverage play. You have a receiver who's running over the middle. That's the way this is supposed to work. It's Kyle Pitts on this play, who, okay, cool. Let's see how this works. Let's see how far you can get people out of position with this play action. Watch as when Ritter takes the snap and runs this play action, I mean, that is wide open right here. I mean, look at the linebackers and look at how far they are playing the run. That is the Bijan effect, right? And, this is exactly what Arthur Smith wants to do, is force you to have to spend all of your resources to stop the run and then make you pay in the passing game. That's how the Arthur Smith offense, when it's at its best, works. It's, you can still move the ball with the running game, but ideally, you get the chunk plays through the passing game and the occasional rush as well if you have that elite back, which so far it looks like Atlanta does. And as you see, Ritter is able to make that throw. Good tackle by the safety, so it's only like 9 yards or so. But again, you'll take that, especially when it felt pretty easy to do. And again, it just goes to show the threat of what Bijan has and what he's bringing to the table. Also, this play is an incredibly fascinating situation because on paper, okay, it's not anything crazy. You're going to have a running play, but they're also faking as though it could be a screen pass towards the top of the screen where you have, a couple players who, one runs out and blocks, the other one catches the ball and runs if it's a screen pass in that direction. It's not. It's going to be a running play. So what's the big deal? Why am I bringing this up? Well, because of another narrative that, some people, one of them might have been me, said draft time was, why are you drafting Bijan Robinson when you already have Tyler Algier? He's a good running back. You don't need 2 running backs. You're not going to have 2 running backs on the field, are you? Well, maybe you are, because in this game, they actually had a decent amount of snaps where both players were on the field. And the idea is to create scenarios where you could go to either one of them, which is fascinating. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'm interested in it. And again, they're not the only team they didn't invent 2 running back sets, but it's not something you see teams do too often, but it is interesting. Like I said, this play is just going to be a regular handoff, and actually Algier kind of fell down right there, only picked up a couple of yards, but it's just fascinating. Do you, on other plays, throw a quick screen pass to Bijan and have him on the outside who can make something happen? There's just that added threat there, and kind of reminds me a little bit of Christian McCaffrey and how he was used in Carolina. They would run 2 running back sets as well, back when they had Cam Newton and doing all that stuff. So definitely something that is just an interesting thing and something I'm definitely keeping an eye on. Also, this play, his explosiveness is just incredible. Like, that's something that's just shocking at the NFL level, quite frankly, where you see it's going to be a run towards the outside, 4th down and 1. So really important play to pick up a yard here. Watch how when Bijan eventually gets the football, you see him right here, and there's a a little window for him to run through for sure. This is well blocked by Atlanta. Obviously, at the end of the day, like we've seen with Saquon Barkley, that no matter how good of a running back you are, if you don't have guys who can block for you, it doesn't matter. Atlanta, definitely can create some running lanes. They have one here, but watch what Bijan does with it. I mean, watch him just, zoom through that gap and pick up a decent chunk play. Picks up the 1st down easily, but picks up a good amount more yards after the fact. And again, this is, a good play to get out of bounds too, because you are playing against the clock in this scenario with only 25 seconds left in the half. So that also worked out. Just a lot of really good stuff from Bijan. And this one's another like highlight reel level play, basically, where watch that Green Bay defender. Watch what he's going to do. As you see, when his play begins, does a pretty good job of going out and being able to try and make a play on Bijan. He's got Bijan wrapped up. And there's another Packer player who's reaching over. He's getting ready to tackle Bijan Robinson. And these are the kind of things that like just must drive you crazy if you're a defensive coordinator. Watch Robinson just run by and even jukes out another defender and turns what should have just been, nothing basically, just a couple of yards into a 1st down. So instead of like 3rd down and 7, you have a 1st down. What's the value in a running back? Well, on that play, there was a good amount of value on a running back. So what does this all mean? Where do we go from here for Atlanta? I think that, they drafted him, and everyone was kind of saying generational talent, generational talent, generational talent. But the reality is, typically a guy that everyone expects to be a generational talent still isn't a generational talent, because it's really hard to predict that, and a lot of times you think someone's going to be amazing, and they end up not amazing. So the fact that he's come into the NFL and been as advertised for Atlanta is already a great thing, right? Because you didn't know if he was going to do that. Now, I think the question will definitely come just like how sustainable is something like this at the NFL level. I've personally felt like to some degree, I always wonder if these strategies, can it really get you like a deep playoff run? We have seen Arthur Smith do it with Tennessee. That is the kind of the example you look at where they made the conference championship. But historically, these run-heavy offenses can get you to the playoffs, but maybe can't get you much further than that. But if you're Atlanta, you're saying, hey, we'll take the playoffs for one thing. That's pretty good. And also, there might be more than just running the football. Like I said, they can throw the ball effectively. I think Desmond Ridder has shown some things. So, Bijan himself isn't going to probably get you to the postseason, even if he is playing really well. I think that with the other aspects that have shown up for Atlanta, the fact that they do have weapons, they don't have to use them every play to make them effective. Their defense and their secondary has been a lot better. I think maybe people thought it would be heading into the year. And, right now, just the pieces are coming together. They had a clear game plan coming into the season, and so far they're executing that game plan very well. And it's centered around Bijan Robinson. And again, while I might critique certain aspects of it, there's no denying that a team that is designed around running the football still can work in 2023. It still can be an effective strategy. And again, when they have to just drop back and play traditional football, they're not doing terrible at that either. So as a whole, Atlanta definitely looking like they're a real threat this season. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of Bijan Robinson? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.